saying this, the first week in November. So it's been very clear, and the reason is that for the FBI cover-up, it would lead back to a secret, covert, illegal, and criminal offensive biological weapons program involving anthrax. And I say it's criminal because I was the person who drafted the statute making it a crime. That's what's going on here. That's why all the lying and covering it up all along, and they're still doing it today. If you read the investigation, the press conference they heard earlier this week by the FBI, it does not add up at all. If you read the article in today's New York Times, it doesn't add up. Indeed, it appears from today's New York Times, the FBI, for example, then set the investigation up by scientists in such a way that no one knew exactly what they were doing and could not communicate with anyone else, and only communicated with the FBI, and only looked at samples provided to them by the FBI and had to take on good faith from the FBI what the samples were. So you have the case where the FBI completely controlled, dominated the scientific investigation, including the timing.
Well, Dr. Boyle, I want to go through that and as best we can piece together who exactly did it and why they did it. But when the mainline public on the street at coffee shops are saying, can you believe the government launched the anthrax attack, they're in trouble. I mean, the word's out the White House was on the drug that fights it. The word's out it went to their enemies. The word's out they set this last guy up. I mean, I think we have a crisis of confidence here. Do you think the FBI knows just how ridiculous they look right now?
Well, Alex, I think the important issue to realize now is this. The FBI has been lying and covering up on this at least since the time I called Bowman. But there is today in existence a stockpile of super weapons-grade anthrax that is under the control of the original perpetrators of the anthrax attacks of October 2001. And that stockpile can and will be used again when their masters decide that it would be politically convenient to scare and terrorize the American people.
All right, we're going to skip this break, too. Hold on. I just want stations to know that. Infowars.com listeners, we're going to continue. Everybody else, we'll be back in 3 minutes. Got to tune over to Infowars.com. Here we go with Dr. Francis Boyle. Okay, Doc, I mean, that's the point I keep making. If they carried out the attacks and all the evidence, I mean, it's 100%, they did it, from motive to means to the evidence to the witnesses to the CIPRO, all of it, it's ridiculous. A, what did they think they were doing? Because they haven't gotten away with it. I mean, this is really getting them more than even 9/11. And then B, getting into what you just mentioned. Yes, they're still in power. They're still going. They could aerosolize this and say Al-Qaeda did it and launch an attack on Iran. Please continue.
Well, they could launch another attack on us, and including on Congress, the judiciary, the media. You know, the media is the...
you think this was a beta test? Do you think this was a beta test?
Pardon me?
Do you think that this was a beta test then?
What do you mean by a beta test?
The first anthrax attack was a beta test to see what the media would do, how Congress would respond?
Well, I believe the first anthrax attack was designed to ram through the Patriot Act because Senator Daschle and Senator Leahy were holding it up. And once the anthrax occurred, the attacks occurred, it rammed right through. Indeed, on the renewal of the USA Patriot Act, Senator Feingold was holding it up, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, some white powdered substance appeared at the, I think, one of the Senate office buildings.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was an anthrax scare, and then all of a sudden, the renewal of the Patriot Act went through. Now, that was not real anthrax.
Well, I mean, this
didn't have to be real anthrax this time.
It's a reminder.
As for your question on the media, I think the culprits here wanted to send a message to the news media as well, that if you really cover this story, you risk your lives.
No, that's it. And then the people that did a story on the Bush daughters falling down drunk in Austin, the editor gets the first letter. I mean, so this is a thinly veiled threat to everyone. So I guess the perpetrators, that's why Congress goes along with the wars and goes along with all of it, because I've talked to people in Congress who privately are like, yeah, we know what happened. And I mean, do you agree that it's just an open mafia message then is what you're saying, and that Congress knows? I mean, they know who did it.
I think, people in Congress, I stay in touch with them. I've sent them my materials. They're smart, intelligent people. I think they know who was responsible for this. I don't think they believe the cock and bull FBI explanation. But, of course, they're afraid. Their lives are on the line. I think what we have to do now is insist on a full-scale congressional investigation, not some type of presidential commission cover-up along the lines of the 9/11 report. But then
the neocons will probably just mail 100 letters of anthrax. I guess the whole nation is kind of held hostage. We're going to come back to the full audience, recap that, and get into your idea, your plan to deal with this, and then cover any other evidence that backs up what you're saying with our guest. Here we go. Dr. Francis Boyle, one of the former top bioweapons experts for the federal government, helped write some of the major bioweapons conventions internationally for the United States. Day one, he tried to help with the investigation and found out who was really behind it. These are hardcore killers. And they'll do anything to scare you into submission. After their little event they pulled off on 9/11, they weren't done. They launched their anthrax attack. And they did their dark winter scenario a few years before that, congressionally funded drill of massive anthrax spraying in Texas, in Oklahoma, and martial law being declared. And you better believe, ladies and gentlemen, they got private contractors ready to spray it on your cities. And then they'll grab some guy with a beard and put him on TV and say he did it. It might even be a hologram. I mean, these guys are just, there's no end to what they'll do. And Dr. Boyle is our guest. During the last segment, you just started calling for a congressional investigation. The country's being held hostage by the real terrorist. You've got the floor. I'd like you to talk more about that and then go back into evidence because it's so voluminous. And anything else you'd like to talk about?
Right. Well, we need hearings along the lines of what we had in the Watergate hearings under President Nixon, where we have open public hearings by a joint committee of Congress, because this attack was designed to shut Congress down, and to which it did. It succeeded, to the best of my knowledge, the first time in the history of our republic where Congress was actually shut down and rendered inoperative. The House went out of business. The Senate said it would stay in session, but with the House out of business, you can't do business. So this is a political crime of the first magnitude. The Supreme Court as well also shut down, and the media were attacked. Our fourth estate, of course, the presidency and the executive branch was not attacked. I leave that to you to figure it out. But we do know the White House was on Cipro. So that's really what we need. And maybe if there are open public hearings by Congress, people put under oath with subpoena power, members of Congress then might feel some protection from further threats by the people currently under control of the anthrax. You also have to tie into this the large numbers of dead microbiologists that have appeared since around the summer before these events, when the New York Times revealed the existence of the covert anthrax weapons programs run by the CIA and Battelle. and that too is in the public record.
Yeah,
and,
those
the list keeps going. Ivins is only the latest dead microbiologist. So you are correct. These culprits are playing for keeps. They are prepared to kill people. They've tried to kill people. I think they have killed people.
Well, there's no doubt under PDD 51, the continuity of government system has taken over the government. Congress knows they were hit by a biological attack from the executive branch and the shadow government controlled by foreign agencies, foreign intelligence operations, British and Israeli predominantly. And they have now bullied the media and the Congress into full submission. They are hopping mad at the Russians for not submitting. God knows what they'll pull on them now. And we are completely controlled by megalomaniacs who have limitless will, dark will, to do God knows what. Mr. Boyle, I mean, I can't imagine a more nightmare scenario. And it's so transparent because they want it to be transparent, don't they?
Well, I think it's transparent for people who are really following what's going on and adding it up. But I don't think for the vast majority of the American people.